Tim Jameson.
So this is a combination of my viewpoint, people that I've spoken to, research that I've done, and just an instinct in terms of the way things are going. It's meant to promote awareness and conversation, hopefully in your work life, but also in your home life. And I think this is going to be a topic that gets talked about more. So AI and the future of being human. So a question to start with, what will life be like if AI takes over? Now, can I just have a quick show of hands? Who's considered this question, even if you wouldn't word it this way? Who's been thinking about, what's life going to be like in the future? Okay, brilliant. I thought the majority of you would. Now, we all know there's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of fear-mongering, I think it's fair to say. There's a lot of dramatic headlines around. If you listen to a podcast like Stephen Bartlett's Diary Debates, CEO, which I personally don't listen to as much as I used to, just because the headlines are so like, everyone panic, the future's going to be awful, nobody knows what's coming our way. We're human, we need to have hope. We need to have a hope of positivity. And a life that's worth living. So just in terms of that question, I wonder which one of these you are. Maybe you're feeling excited about the future. Maybe you're feeling kind of reticent. You're like, I don't know, I'm just going to sit tight and wait and see what the future holds. Maybe you're feeling quite anxious about what's just around the corner. Or maybe you're feeling a combination of these dependent on your context. You might be feeling one way in terms of your career. You might be feeling another way in terms of your home life. I've got kids, so I'm probably feeling a little more on the anxious side in terms of my kids and what the future could look like for them as humans. So what is artificial intelligence? So I'm going to read this out. Artificial intelligence is a type of computer technology which is concerned with making machines work in an intelligent way, similar to the way that the human mind works. And the abbreviation AI is also used. And AI combines data, algorithms, and computational power to enable machines to perceive, reason, learn, and act. So essentially, over time, to become more human-like. And AI isn't just a thing that's arrived in the past few years. It actually stems back to the 1940s, 1950s. And there'll be lots of people in the room who have heard of Alan Turing. And his famous paper, Computing, Machinery, and Intelligence. And he introduced the idea back then of machines thinking. And if you haven't done, it's worth just going and having a little read of that. So when we talk about AI, there are three commonly discussed stages, and I know there's probably some people in the room who have got quite strong opinions around where we're at, what the future actually looks like, and when the various stages are going to come about. But from my research, it's generally recognised, as you see on the screen. So number one, we've got artificial narrow intelligence, which is machine learning. So a machine learning to do a specific task in a very specific way. An example, a very recent example, is Apple with their new Apple Watch Pro, or whatever it's called, are talking about the implementation of machine learning to spot chronic high blood pressure over time. So a very specific task, and it learns continually. Stage two, artificial general intelligence, or AGI. So machine intelligence, and it refers to a computer that is as smart as a human across the board. People like Raymond Kurzweil, they predicted that he terms it the singularity will be with us. At the moment, he's thinking around 2029, but the general consensus is somewhere between 2030 and 40. And then the third stage, ASI, artificial super intelligence. And depending on who you speak to, some people, when you talk ASI, they say, that's it, game over. But that's when machines gain consciousness. So they have an intellect that's much smarter than the best human brains in practically every field. And again, just back to those three phases, some people feel excited about this for reasons that we'll have a look at. Some people feel, I don't know, and some people feel very anxious. But one thing's for sure, and that's that AI is already all around us. It's embedded in our daily lives, and it has been for some time in our pockets, workplaces, homes. So let's look at what it means to be human. So being human is more than possessing intelligence or biology. It's a blend of cognition, emotion, morality, creativity, and self-awareness, bound together by social connection and meaning-making. And in the age of AI and biotechnology, being human, I would suggest, may soon mean choosing what to preserve as uniquely ours as humans: emotion, empathy, vulnerability, or moral judgment, as some examples. And across philosophy, neuroscience, and AI theory, there are these three themes that repeatedly emerge. So in embodiment, as humans, we have a body through which we experience the world. We have emotion and empathy, so we have feelings, not just the ability to think, so not just intelligence. We have feelings, we feel things, and we have meaning making. We have a drive for beauty, justice, and we have an idea of the fact that we're not immortal. Some people think what happens after this world. Machines don't think in that way. And being human includes, as we all know, the capacity to care and act morally, the awareness of mortality and finitude, and the ability to find meaning in imperfection. And in many respects, that's what makes life worth living. That gives human life is messy. Machines look to optimize and go against the whole messiness of human life. So, another question. If we reach a point where AI made every choice for you, from what you eat to who you spend time with to how you work, would life feel easier or emptier? Have show of hands for easier. Okay, it's probably about 8% of the room. So about 92%. Would you say emptier, or would you pick a different word?
It's strange.
Strange.
I pick both those words.
Interesting.
Okay, different.
Different.
Well,
Okay.
it's still more like a routine, I think.
More like a routine.
I'm actually using AI to monitor my food and reduce my weight in 3
Okay.
weeks. I've actually lost a stone already. But that's probably my nature anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's helping me so to making my choices and put in specific ways.
Interesting. So it probably is going to be a combination of the two. It might initially feel easier, but over time might feel empty, might feel like we're losing something, I would suggest. So yeah, two sides. Easier, more convenience, less decision fatigue. I hear that quite often, and where things just work, but emptier, less agency, less meaning, and life just feels scripted, maybe over time. So let's take a moment to look back, to look forward. It's all too easy to be forward focused and not to look at history. Lots of people say, look at history, because history has a habit of repeating itself. So what's the first piece of technology you remember that really changed your life? Can I maybe have 2 or 3 people just? Smartphone.
Record.
Record. Did it change your life?
Yeah.
How did it change your life?
Music.
Music. Okay.
Music, creativity, and like when I found music, that was it. There's
Yeah.
a different impact to life.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music's really powerful.
Smartphone.
Smartphone as well.
Don't need a watch, camera.
Yeah.
Everything was just in one.
Everything was all in the same place, and that made it
Alarm,
okay.
clock alarm, with a
Yeah.
something in.
Yeah. Thank you.
I've got one Commodore PET
Commodore PET.
because I was at school and I saw how computers are changing my life.
Okay.
So,
Just looking back, humans have always developed tools to extend their abilities. So, for example, you obviously see a printing press in front of you. If I say storage, we think of storage now as computer-based storage. But storage in writing, we used to just talk, we wrote, and that's storage. Printing press, communication in terms of things like telegrams and into telephones. More recently, booking and transaction systems. More recently still, IP networks, internet, video calls, online banking. And I think today's shift, what we're seeing, is around assistive technologies being replaced by assistant technologies. So where they used to help us as humans do a job, they're now doing the job on our behalf. So just to look at the trade-offs that some past technology changes have had. So writing replaced oral tradition. We lost memory but gained permanence. Maps replaced direct exploration. We lost lived experience but gained navigation. And cars replaced walking communities. We lost closeness and the conversation maybe that comes through walking, but we gained mobility. So with the way that things are going with AI, are we really losing, or are we just transforming to just more of the same? And actually in a few years' time, we'll look back and say, hey, there was nothing to get concerned about. It's just natural progression. But one thing is for sure, and I'm sure lots of you think about this, that the pace is now unprecedented. So just as electricity and the internet reshaped society, AI is the next step, but the pace is very different this time. So I'm now going to talk briefly about acceleration versus limitation, something called Moore's law. So the human brain, generally accepted, hasn't really evolved for 200,000 years. We like predictability, we like change that happens in a linear way. So daytime follows the night, and then it's nighttime again. The seasons follow each other. It's predictable, it's slow. Whereas Moore's law talks about exponential change, it's an upward curve, and each step multiplies the total rather than adding a fixed quantity. And where the human brain is essentially the same as it was 200,000 years ago, we're not built to process exponential change. So we're used to steady patterns, as I've said, and in contrast, computer power, data availability, and algorithms are generating exponential change. And that's why growth often feels sudden or disruptive. And decades of slow progress can be followed by just a few days, it seems now, of rapid acceleration and change. So there's a contrast between the way machines work and bring about exponential change, ever speeding up, and the ability of the human brain to process that change. In terms of workplace implications, I hear people say these days that the bottom rung of the ladder has well and truly been kicked away now. So there's AI agents doing admin level tasks and other tasks. So we're moving from being the doers to the orchestrators of AI, increasingly. In the software engineering business like AxisOps, engineers are doing less coding, but they're becoming the orchestrators of the AI, and they're then reverse engineering and checking what the AI is doing. So in terms of skills that will remain uniquely human, probably a lot of you would say things like empathy, creativity, ethics, and leadership. Just looking quickly beyond the workplace. So this becomes less about a countdown and more a gradual erosion when it comes to AI and what it means for the future of humanity. Relationships, memory, creativity, and attention will increasingly become reshaped by algorithmic systems. Loneliness and machine companionships, AI as friends and partners. If you listen to podcasts, Spotify, there's one recently called Flesh and Code, a podcast series about people developing relationships with AI companions and what the reality of that might look like. Artificial actors, had loads of conversations with folk around this today, including some younger guys who came through it. So AI generated music, influences in films. Families and young people, so attention, identity and behaviour shaped by algorithms. I've got fairly young kids, and one of the things that I struggle with is when they're in the corner somewhere on their phones and they go through mood swings and they don't quite know why. Their reality is not my reality anymore. And a big one as well, surveillance and privacy. And the fact that many people have resigned to being monitored or giving away their data just because that's the way it is now. And I've spoken to people in AxisOps about that. It's just the way it is. You've just got to not give in, but resign to it. So it's a good shape in the future. So we risk losing critical thinking, memory, moral judgment, presence, deeper levels of human connection, but we potentially gain creativity boosts, being able to get further faster, efficiencies, inclusion and accessibility, and new opportunities. And we could each add to both of those, and there'll be some blurred lines in the middle. So I just think that AI doesn't have to diminish us as humans. It can enrich us if we're intentional about where we go from here. So the question isn't whether AI will reshape future, but whether we will shape AI to serve the kind of future we actually want. So I was talking to someone earlier and we remembered the phrase, technology makes a brilliant servant but a dangerous master. So in the context of AI, it depends on how we shape it. And I know people say, but who's the we? Can we in this room influence where things go, or is it the big powers that be? Is it the Elon Musk of this world that are the we's? So just some closing thoughts in the last few minutes. So I'm going to read this out. So this is just for you to think about. If we prioritise what's trackable over what's meaningful, the long-term consequence is a subtle but profound reshaping of human identity, values and society. And the things that make us most human, compassion, wisdom, moral courage, risk becoming invisible, undervalued or actively discouraged simply because they can't be easily quantified or optimised. And we risk building a world that works perfectly, but not for humans as they truly are. It works for a flattened, digitised version of us, rational, predictable, measurable, and the richer, messier, emotional, moral complexity of being human risks being left outside the loop. So the real danger, I put to you, is not that AI will take over, it's that we will forget what makes us human. And the future will depend on whether we remember. So the most powerful algorithm's not written in code, it's written in our choices. So let's make sure those choices enrich what it means to be human. AI will not decide what it means to be human, only we can do that. And just to close with one final screen, I was on LinkedIn the other day, and what I'm going to bring up, I don't normally pay attention to this kind of thing, but it's stuck in my mind. That says machines get better at being machines, humans must get better at being more human. But that starts with us understanding what it means to be human. Thank you very much.